It shouldn't exist. Not now. Not ever. A wax seal, jet black and blood red, found in the deepest vault of the Vatican library. It bears two marks. One is the unmistakable papal insignia, the other, a Templar cross. But the Templars were wiped out in 1314. This seal is dated 1421, a full century after they were burned at the stake. So who sealed it? And more importantly, what did they bury in Rome that needed such silence? Breathe that in for a moment. A forgotten object, a forbidden symbol, and a date that breaks history in half. Let the dust of centuries settle. We're not rushing. The story will wait because it's waited for 600 years. The Vatican is many things: a city, a vault, a whisper in stone. But above all, it is a fortress of memory and of forgetting. Behind its marble walls and beneath its gilded ceilings lies a second Rome, one that doesn't appear on any tourist brochure. That's where our story begins. Not in a chapel or museum, but inside a misfiled ledger, an 18th century inventory of damaged bindings. Most of the entries are routine: torn vellum, water stains, a worm-eaten psalter. But tucked between two cracked folios was something different. A wax seal, still intact, tucked like an afterthought between the pages. Red cross, papal crest, a date Anno Domini 1421. The archivist who found it wrote just one note: signatum pro silentio aeterno, sealed for eternal silence. And then he disappeared. No resignation, no obituary, just a pension that was never claimed. This isn't just another Vatican rumor. This is a breadcrumb trail, real, physical, and ignored. For centuries, the Church has denied that the Templars survived. But this seal suggests they did more than survive. They sealed something. And whatever it was, they buried it in Rome. Before we venture further into the shadows, take a moment to subscribe so you never miss a secret that history has tried to forget. The Vatican Library does not lose things. That's its pride, its curse, and its promise. Every leaf of parchment, every smudged page, every misbound gospel is recorded, catalogued, preserved. Which is why the ledger matters. It was supposed to contain routine notes on damaged documents, yet somewhere within its brittle pages was a seal that should never have been there. The archivist who found it, a man named Emilio Salviati, had spent 20 years cataloging mundane ephemera. A scholar of dust and ink, not scandal. But his handwriting changed on the final page. Where once he had been neat, measured, impersonal, the ink in this last entry ran wild, shaky strokes, a larger script, as if written in haste or fear. Alongside the description of the seal, he scribbled the phrase, signatum pro silentio aeterno, in the margin. Sealed for eternal silence. Salviati had no history of erratic behavior, no medical records of decline. Yet shortly after filing that final note, he vanished. His office was left in perfect order, his apartment undisturbed. No resignation, no obituary, no forwarding address. Only the echo of his last recorded act, and that phrase now etched into curiosity's spine. The seal itself was transferred quietly to an off-site repository, placed in a small climate-controlled box, and reclassified under miscellaneous ecclesiastical artifacts. It bore no obvious origin beyond its imagery. The papal tiara above crossed keys on one side, and the cross patée, the Templar emblem, on the other. But the date molded into the wax, 1421, was the rupture. By every known account, the Templar order had been obliterated more than a century before. Officially, the last Grand Master Jacques de Molay was burned in 1314. The order's assets had been seized, its members imprisoned, executed, or absorbed. And yet here was a Vatican seal from long after their end, marked not with suppression, but cooperation. Salviati's personal effects revealed little. The sparse apartment books, stacked with the obsessive neatness of a man used to categorization, and one unopened letter addressed to a colleague in Avignon, never sent. Inside were photocopies of a second manuscript unrelated to his archival assignment. It mentioned a phrase in Latin that mirrored his last note, silentium regis, the silence of the king. Avignon. That wasn't a random location. From 1309 to 1377, the papacy itself had moved there, abandoning Rome for reasons still debated. Some say it was politics, others say fear. But during those years, the church grew increasingly intertwined with the same French monarchy that had orchestrated the fall of the Templars. The same crown that had ordered their arrest, and perhaps by consequence their concealment. It begs the question, did the Vatican ever truly sever ties with the Templars? Or were certain elements within the church, quiet, powerful, deliberate, preserving a link that official history had erased? A single seal could be explained away. A forgery, a ritual artifact, a decorative reproduction. But paired with Salviati's disappearance and the mention of silentium regis, a pattern begins to flicker. One that suggests not silence imposed, but silence chosen, willed, maintained. It is here that the investigation splits in two. The seal may be the result of a rogue archivist's imagination, but if so, it's a very odd fabrication, one that matches no known style of 15th century waxwork, yet shows signs of period-accurate resin composition. The wax contains traces of a specific dye long extinct, once used by a very particular guild of seal makers. A guild last mentioned in an Avignon document from 1314, the same year Jacques de Molay died. The letter from Salviati even mentions an unseen continuation of the Templar registry, rumored to exist in a now-defunct monastic outpost along the Tiber. The phrase signatum pro silentio aeterno seems to echo more than just fear. It suggests a decision, not merely to bury a secret, but to do so with reverence, ritual, and the authority of both church and sword. Sealed not to be opened, but to endure. Strangely, this phrase does not appear in any known canonical text or liturgical script. Linguists consulted during Vatican evaluations noted the peculiar phrasing. It lacked the rigid ecclesiastical Latin of papal